So this snapshot is all about the big picture of a process known as meiosis, and we're going to first compare this new process we're learning about, meiosis, to a process we just finished learning about known as mitosis. So if you remember a little bit about the process of mitosis, it's a process that takes us from one parent cell, you see that one parent cell right here, to two daughter cells, or two brand new cells that we see represented by these two cells down here. What's important to note about these two daughter cells is a couple of things. First of all, in our parent cell, we have a 2n number of chromosomes. We call that a diploid number of chromosomes. In other words, a full set of chromosomes. And we also see that same number represented, so 2n, or a diploid number, or a full set of chromosomes, down here in both of our brand new daughter cells. So the number of chromosomes does not change from parent cell down to daughter cells in the process of mitosis. We have the same number of chromosomes in both brand new cells. Not only do we have the same number of chromosomes, but these two cells are genetically identical to each other and genetically identical to the parent cell that they came from, which makes mitosis a process that is ideal for replacing damaged cells or repairing damaged cells within the body, or creating brand new cells, but brand new cells that need to do the exact same job of the former cells, the former parent cells. So mitosis goes through one round of division, starts with a parent cell, takes us to two brand new daughter cells that have the same number of chromosomes, are genetically identical, and therefore can do the exact same thing the parent cell did inside whatever organism's body this process is taking place. On the other hand, over here with the new process we're learning about today, meiosis, things are a little bit different. Notice from the get-go that meiosis just looks like a more complicated process, and it kind of is, and you can see why starting right here. There are actually two rounds of division in meiosis, where mitosis only has its one round of division, where we go from one cell and split off into two. During what we call meiosis 1, we start with one parent cell and create two brand new cells. But then in meiosis 2, we take each one of those new cells and they go through their own division and create a grand total now of 4 daughter cells. So meiosis, when all is said and done, is a process that takes us from one parent cell all the way down to 4 daughter cells. Now here's what we need to note about those daughter cells. Again, in meiosis, we start with a diploid number of chromosomes, a full set of chromosomes in our parent cell. But if we work all the way downstream here, we see that our 4 daughter cells that we're left with at the end actually only have 1n amount of chromosomes. So essentially, the chromosome count got cut in half from 2n down to 1n. We reduced our chromosome number, cut it in half by the end of the process of meiosis. Okay, that's pretty crucial. Not only have we cut our chromosome number in half, which by the way means that these are now, instead of being called diploid cells, these are now called haploid cells. So we've created now 4 haploid cells from one original diploid cell. Not only do these cells, these haploid cells, these new daughter cells, have half of the chromosome number that the original cell did, but they are all genetically unique from each other. Remember over here in mitosis, these two cells were identical to each other. They had the same number of chromosomes and they were exactly the same genetically. These 4 cells down here, these 4 daughter cells created by meiosis, not only have half the number of chromosomes that we started with, but they are also genetically unique from each other. So these haploid cells are their own independent cell with their own independent set of DNA that is unlike any of the other daughter cells that are produced in meiosis. If we just want to focus in on meiosis now, we can kind of hone in on a couple more important vocabulary terms. And let's just focus down here again at the end result of meiosis and see what we have. So we don't have 2 daughter cells anymore. Remember, we have 4 daughter cells. Okay? These daughter cells are genetically different from each other, whereas in mitosis they were genetically identical, and they are haploid. So we have 4 cells. Their DNA is not the same as each other, and they are haploid, meaning they have a half set of chromosomes. If you look up here at the total number of chromosomes in our parent cell that we start, there's 4 chromosomes, a big pink one, a little pink one, a big green one, and a little green one. You come all the way down here and work your way through meiosis. Now, each one of these daughter cells has 2 chromosomes there, 2 chromosomes there, 2 there, and 2 there. So we've cut our chromosome number in half. That is why we call these cells haploid cells. Okay? This genetic difference is important, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on in another snapshot. But the fact that they're genetically different, we can just visually see here in the sense that we have kind of a large green chromosome, but it has a little pink chunk. And then we have a small pink chromosome. Here we have a small pink chromosome, but it actually has a little green chunk. And then we have a large green chromosome. Here we have a small green chromosome with a little pink chunk and a solid pink large chromosome. And then here we have a solid pink large chromosome except for this little green chunk. And then we have a solid green smaller chromosome. So literally, when you look at these cells, you can see that their chromosomes number have been cut in half, but also the chromosomes are unique from one another. Here's just one more look at the general process of meiosis, but what's important to note here is that this is talking about meiosis as it takes place in males and meiosis as it takes place in female organisms. So again, here we are starting with one, important to note, diploid parent cell, and here we have our one diploid parent cell. But through our first round of meiosis, which takes us kind of to this point here, and now our second round of meiosis, which takes us to our end point, we get 2 different results in males versus females. Okay? Notice what's the same about them is that these daughter cells, and again there are 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the female there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice that these cells are haploid, like we've discussed, which means their chromosome number has been cut in half. Okay? But what's a little bit different, you notice from males versus females, is the end result in females is actually only 1, what we call egg cell. Okay? Whereas in males, we have 4 total sperm cells. Okay? There's a special name for these sperm cells and these egg cells, these haploid cells with a half set of chromosomes that are the end result of meiosis. They are called gametes. Okay? So the male gamete we create are these sperm cells. The female gamete, and down here, the female gamete that we create are these egg cells, but there seems to be a difference in numbers, right? So the difference in numbers comes from kind of this step of meiosis right down here when you're looking at females. Even though females do produce 4 gametes through the process of meiosis, 3 of them turn into what are called polar bodies. And these 3 will not become eggs that are capable of being fertilized during sexual reproduction. They will essentially be destroyed. So only 1 of the 4 cells gets the appropriate information to go on to be potentially fertilized through the process of sexual reproduction. Okay? In males, every time a male diploid cell goes through meiosis and creates 4 sperm cells, any one of those 4 sperm cells could, through the process of fertilization, reach this egg cell down here. And at that point, it's kind of all a guessing game. There's no laws that govern which one of these sperm cells could reach that one egg cell. The only true law out there is that these polar bodies, these 3 out of the 4 haploid gametes that are produced by females will be destroyed, and females will only be left with 1 haploid gamete by the end of their meiosis process.